Good morning, my beautiful people. Danyelle here from Transcendence for Truth. Feels like it's been a while since I've jumped online actually and done a live. A really long time. And I have so much resistance right now to actually showing up here and communicating to you guys about this. So I'm going to continually surrender and talk about it. Obviously, there is a lot of internal conflict around this topic for me. A lot of contraction and a lot of wanting to control. My bra's out. That's what happens when you basically wear no clothes. Okay, so good morning. If you love watching my lives, make sure you heart this video, show me the love, tag any friends that you think would get value from these. 1, if you're watching now. 2, if you're watching a replay. Good morning, Gary. Morning, Nick. Control, right? So we as humans have a tendency to want to control everything. And that control has been, I'm just going to talk about my personal story, and I'm going to bring it into awareness for you guys as well, because sometimes I think when there's enough resistance, it can be actually very hard to communicate the story without, or the lesson from a coaching perspective without bringing in your own experience to resonate to. And since I've got so much, you can probably feel it actually, depending on how intuitive you are, but I've had some pretty challenging times in the last couple of months where basically I think a lot of people have had a lot of their shadow side being brought up to awareness to see. And we don't often want to confront our shadows, so we can go into distractor and want to avoid and distract from what the actual issue is. But when you have a shadow coming up, it is a time to take note and be like, okay, I am ready. If something is coming up for your awareness now, it means that you are ready to bring it to light. You are ready to address it, and you are ready to make the necessary changes and to heal it and find a new perspective and retrain your brain to shift something that could be blocking you massively in your life, to find the lightness in that area and actually make it heal it, and it can be completely dissolved away if you choose to. So if you've got shadows coming up, and if you've had a lot of shadow work lately, which I feel there is a lot of this going on, the energy the last couple of months has been rather intense, and there is a lot of people awakening and sort of going through some energetic shifts, and if there's this pattern that seems to keep coming and you're like, actually want to change it, now might be the time. So for me, it's been control, right? So being a victim of narcissistic abuse, or basically playing into the victim role my entire life, I have had a lot of resistance towards control, right? So I've basically had a lot of control through passive-aggressive ways, through more overtly ways, through sexual abuse, through my relationships, and I have victimized myself, I will say, through these experiences to learn better self-love, better boundaries, better empowerment, better strength, better potency, to become stronger, to know that if I can get through those different situations, that basically I can choose to create so much more for my life. So looking at it from that angle, there's a lot of, and this might upset people, because people that have been through these sort of situations don't like to think that they've created the situation through whatever. Morning, I love you. I'll come out in a second. Oh, why? The timing. Always the timing. It's like, I've already got enough of a scatterbrain. Here, give me a cuddle. I love you. Oh. You're so beautiful. I'll come out and say,
You're pretty.
I look pretty? Thank you. All right, so when you've been a victim of these experiences, sometimes you want to place blame, you have a lot of shame, you have unworthiness, you have a multitude of internal and external sort of, I would call it quantum entanglements. And it's because a lot of these experiences, and until you're really, really willing to get really, really raw with yourself to see why these situations keep playing out in either lesser degrees or sometimes more intense degrees, until you're willing to see what it is that you're not seeing about yourself, because it's never actually about the external. It's never about these situations that have happened in our life as being their fault, and they were the problem, and that's challenging to see. You know, it is really challenging to get that honest with yourself, to say, okay, well, what about this experience did I need to learn to become more whole? Because nothing here is real. It's all our own dream and our own illusion is what we've created for us to get to a point where we actually shed away and remember the truth. The truth of who we are and our inner essence is not at all what we've been conditioned. It's not our past, it's not our experiences, it's not our traumas, it's not what we think we should be from the expectations of others. It's about what we truly are, which is just pure source energy. And it's all of this other stuff and experiences and beliefs that thinks that we are something unworthy of that, which is just consciousness and love. That's all we all are underneath all of the bullshit. And when you've been a victim, especially for me, of having created some real controlling relationships, right? And seeing the mirror effect, right? So the mirror, I will explain that a little bit, because I did have a conversation with somebody about this last night, and they're like, oh, but you know, if someone's nasty to you, that's not showing you a mirror that you were nasty and you deserved it, right? So there's sort of like this misconception around the mirroring technique, where the mirror is actually showing you, right, if you're triggered, okay, so sometimes people are nasty because they're not had a good day, or you don't know what they've gone through, you haven't been in their perspective or their experience for that day, and you were probably just the convenient target at that point in time. So when you're aware and you're awake enough, sometimes you can go, ooh, okay, well, that actually didn't call for that behavior and reaction, and I'm not going to get triggered by it, because I know within myself where I was, and it was uncalled for, and that's okay. I'm going to let it go and find peace with it. Or if you get triggered, that's when you need to be like, okay, if I've been triggered, what's this showing me about me, right? So it's usually, if we're triggered, it's usually because we're judging the person, because there's a shadow side about us, right, that we're not willing to see. Or we're judging the person we've got self-judgment because of that person's behavior, or we've given ourselves up in some way so that it's something that triggers us because we've actually given away ourselves in times to do with that situation. So control was the topic. For me, playing victim my whole life, I've had a lot of resistance to control, and to see that I was controlling was one of the more challenging things that I've had to look at in my life, right? But if you want to look at, say, people are not going to like this, but if you want to look at, say, a very narcissistic male and a very codependent or empathic woman, usually they're at opposite poles. So you've got one in the very masculine and one in the very feminine. And they're both usually very unconscious or unbalanced people, right? So what happens is they're actually the polarity of each other, and they're the opposite of each other. But they're actually displaying very much of the same core beliefs and issues, which is unworthiness, unlove, and undeserving, right? So, and a narcissist is a emotionally unintelligent, basically like a child, right? So they have to find love and worthiness and fulfillment from using manipulation and emotional abuse to have their love cup full, right? So that's sort of how that dynamic works. But then you've got the codependent empath, that is the victim that is receiving all of this abuse, but they're so codependent that they give themselves up to fulfill their unworthiness, unloved stuff. But if you look, if you had two people that were aware enough or starting to wake up, that could see that these people are literally mirroring the exact behaviors you need to have more of, right? So in more balance, of course, but say a narcissistic person needs to have more love, compassion, empathy, kindness, and different things for themselves, where the empath needs to cultivate more strength, boundaries, assertiveness, speaking their truth, and it's like it could be the biggest lesson to becoming a more balanced whole human being if you wanted to see the mirror as to growth. But it's also seeing that two very, very, very unconscious people, there's no victim. You're both victims and you're both abusers. And that's very, very challenging to look at, because for me, it was like, okay, I've had these really controlling relationships, but up until recently, I haven't wanted to see how much of a controlling person I am. So it's like, I want to control from a different angle and a different perspective, but I'm just as controlling, and I don't have trust in the universe. So it's like, I want to control my life. I don't want to throw the oars into my boat and float downstream. I want to be able to hold on to them just in case something comes down the river that I don't like, so I can detour, right? But by doing that, you're actually holding on and restricting. So the control factor cuts off your receivability from the universe to actually receive all of the things that you want to receive. It doesn't put you in the flow of the divine grace and the divine energy of divine timing. You know, the universe has a much better plan than what we do for ourselves. And it's like, okay, what goals, what relationship things, what are the things that I'm holding on to so tight, out of control, rather than, okay, let go of that idea, let go of that goal, let go of that, and just be in the present moment, because that's really all that we've got, and trust and flow with each step, right? So if we hold on to something so much and we plan things and we restrict things, or we have a conclusion or an idea around something, then that really strong control can actually prevent us from moving forward in the way that's best for us, right? So everything that's happening is happening at exactly the way that we are needing to experience at this point in time. So if, you know, you're going through something challenging, there's lessons, there's learning, there's so much that can be brought out of it if you choose to see it that way. It's like, I remember hearing once, you know, we're basically all going to the one place. We're all going to go different ways, different paths, different journeys, but the end goal is to get to the one place. And you can either get dragged down the path kicking and screaming, or you can walk down there with ease, and you can take it all in and enjoy the process, and, you know, be grateful when these challenges come up, because they're showing you something that you're not willing to see. So control is basically this reality, really. You know, we're taught control from very, very early on. We're not taught to just trust and let go and surrender. And when you're trying to control and dictate something, you can sometimes cause yourself a lot more hectic sort of experiences. So seeing if you have been in a situation where you have somebody completely super controlling in your life, it can be mirroring that. Like, have you got areas? Are you trying to control other people's journeys? Are you coming to a judgment of wrong or right around what they're going through? Are you deeming what their experience is to not being perfect for them, and you're trying to control it? Or are you trying to control your relationship from a place of love or a place of healing, you know? And the best way that you truly can help and to let go of that is to just surrender and be an allowance. Everyone's got their own path that they have to walk, and if we trust a little more and allow and sit in peace, and I was like, where's that child? I heard a door open. And let go, then things. I am very much in a very self-reflective stage. Shh, come have a cuddle for a second. Hey, hi, Bubba.
Mom, like a princess.
Have you? I look like a princess. Thank you. Have you got makeup on your face? Yes, buddy. Maybe we'll talk about it. Yeah, so I hope you got some value out of this video. I have had my sister and my sister's boyfriend here and kids non-stop, and I haven't had any self-care, me time, silence, and being very, very, very empathic and going through a lot of vibrational shifts and having a lot of downloads. I am not as grounded or clear of a channel as I would normally be. So, yeah, that's where I'm at, and I'm going to need like a week retreat to center myself, I think. But, you know, with gifts, I guess you have these challenges that come up so that you can find peace in every situation as much as possible. And that's what, for me, it is at the moment, is focusing a lot on, I can't control the external environment at the moment. I can't control the situation. I just got to keep finding peace within and trusting and letting go and finding silence and breathing and honoring myself as much as possible and eating healthy. And if that means taking myself off social media for a bit and not being able to give you guys great content, then that is what I'm doing to honor myself. So I love you. Namaste, and have a beautiful Tuesday. Mwah.